These problems are about factoring by grouping. So this is a technique that is embedded when we do trinomials. But if you take a look, so we're ignoring number 116 here. Don't even pay attention. It just happened to be a part of the screenshot. Anyway, so take a look at 117, 118, 119, and 120. Notice how there's four terms involved. Okay, so that's usually a clue that you can jump straight to grouping the terms. And plus, when we did factoring trinomials, most of the time it will be squares or quadratics. It's possible to factor trinomials if they're an even exponent, and again, we'll explain those cases later. But for this case, one of the other techniques you can use is factoring by grouping. So if I go to number 117 here, it is x cubed plus 2x squared minus x minus 2. You can go straight to grouping them like this and see if it works. Again, remember, there's a lot of different factoring techniques. Factoring by grouping happens to be one of the techniques. So if there's four terms, group the first two, group the last two, and will it actually work out? In this first group, I can take out an x squared, leaving me x plus 2. In the second group, I can take out a negative 1, leaving me x plus 2. Again, the parentheses have to match, which in this case they do. Awesome. And then I would put x squared minus 1 in this parenthesis. But always be on the lookout. Is that you remember when you're factoring, typically the instructions say factor completely. So I take a look at my final answer here, x plus 2, and then x squared minus 1. I can actually factor x squared plus 1 even further, which I'm sure some of you might remember. Difference of two squares. So difference, and I have two squares here. So that means I can break this particular one down. So square root of x squared is x, square root of 1 is 1, 1, add, subtract, and then I could put x plus 2 right here, this factor that we had from before. So I was able to break that down even further, so that means this right here is my final answer. So always be on the lookout. That was tricky, number 117. If I'm looking here, let's go ahead and do number 19. Why not? 119. All right, so I have x to the fourth minus x cubed plus x minus 1. All right, so again, there's four terms. Why not just try grouping? Sure. I could take out an x cubed from this one, leaving me with x minus 1. And then I could take out a positive 1 from that, leaving me with x minus 1. The parentheses match. Great. And in this parenthesis, I have x cubed plus 1, which for our purposes right now, we haven't learned how to factor sum of cubes. Okay, that's something we'll get into. But just know that I've given you a hint. We can actually break down x cubed plus 1 even further. Okay, so just be aware of that. But anyway, that is how you do factoring by grouping.